Welcome back to Lawn Dude Unearth, where we like to dive into whatever topic comes to mind each and every week. Every week we have an installment on mental health because it's important, man. You got to check on your people. You got to check on your people and have your people check on you. It is important, man. It's important to me that we continue to have discussions on mental health because it's just not talked about enough. Now we're going to cue the intro. I like to go ahead and take care of these pleasantries. For all those who power Lawn Dude Unearth and help us to bring this content to you each and every week. Now, if you're looking for a high quality, eco conscious apparel that reps your passion for the outdoors, you need to check out Finprint Apparel. And don't forget to use our code, man, Dude10. Once again, DUDE 10 at checkout will save you 10%. Again, that's Finprint Apparel. They will give you a good little splash on your uniforms. If you haven't checked out our video of how different our uniforms are, go check it out right now, either on YouTube or Instagram. Also, I'd like to go ahead and shout out the fact that we're powered by Petra Tools, who is bringing you top tier equipment to keep your lawn game strong. Whether you need sprayers, various lawn landscape products, or battery powered solutions, Petra Tools has you covered. And they also have like mulch glue, and they got the lawn paint. They got a little bit of everything, man. Just go check out their website. Support the brands that support us, man. These are the brands that support Lawn Dude Unearth. I like to keep growing as a company, as a podcast. So I definitely have no problem shouting out those who decided to give us the opportunity. And we beyond appreciate it. What's going on? Welcome back to Lawn Dude Unearth. So, no, I don't usually release a podcast on a Tuesday morning, but I felt like I should just go ahead and release this one early because I have some things to get off my chest, and I don't know, it's kind of a situation I'm not used to being in. So, today I want to pull back more of the curtain, man. You know, this is Lawn Dude Unearth. Like I said, this is where we pull, where we. I'm sorry, I'm trying to come up with the best word, man, but where we talk about more than just the green industry, or at least the front and center of it, the highlight reel. We don't just talk about the wins, we talk about the losses. And today it's one of those low light reel moments. And to be honest with you, I thought about whether or not I would release this podcast because I'm partially embarrassed that I'm in this situation. And I know some are going to look at it as not that big of a deal, but to me, it is a deal. So this situation is currently ongoing. So this situation happened with a client that I would have to say kind of really got under my skin. not because of, the work, but because of how the work was treated. So those who know me, or those who've been following me for years, know I always strive to hold myself in my business to a high standard. I mean, a crazy high standard, to the point where those around me, I drive them crazy how high of a standard that I hold myself to. So, anyways, going off of that, if I say something, if I say I'm going to do something, I do it. And to be completely 110% honest with you, I usually go above and beyond. That's just the way I operate, man. That's the way I'm wired. But here's the deal. I'm on this property. It's a commercial property. Every single week I'm out there, rain or shine. I'm out there. Um, so let me go ahead and give you a little bit of context. I have to spray the bed weeds once a month on all my commercials. That's the way I have our contract set up. I've never been a guy to not spray those beds because I know how bad the weeds can get. So I do mix my vegetation spray, my weed spray for the mulch beds a little bit higher to, make sure they kill them out. But as you know, our area, just like pretty much every other area that I'm seeing out there, has had a lot of rain recently, which no matter how much you're out there spraying it, you can expect to see some weeds. So I kid you not, over the last week, the weeds just shot up to the point where I couldn't just spray them. And there was like some little rock beds in the landscape in the front of the buildings. I seen it when I pulled up the other day, and keep in mind this was my last day of this was my last day of the week to catch up all the mowing before Memorial Day weekend, so I could be off for the weekend, which never happens. So I seen all those weeds, and I said, well, they can't wait. I'm gonna have to hand pull these while I'm out here today. So I filled up a couple 5-gallon buckets worth of weeds. I spent the time doing that. Property that would have took no longer than half an hour to 45 minutes. Took me an hour and a half. And this was the first property in the morning. It's a busy center. And usually I get there early enough to where I'm in and out before it really gets busy. But because I had to pull the weeds, it started getting busy before I even fired up the mower. So I'm out at this property hand pulling weeds, you know, spraying multiple times, blowing out ditch lines on a busy street where cars are flying past me like they don't even see me. Like this is really becoming an every week thing. I'm even using my big stand on blower, to clear the parking lot at least once every single month. And the president of this board, the one I deal with, there are cameras on the site where he can see me out there, week after week, just taking care of services. And I have a long standing relationship with this point of contact. I have a long standing relationship with them. But Saturday, we get informative mail, which I'm not sure if everyone knows what that means, but in the morning, we get an email that shows a picture of everything coming in the mail that day. It's crazy how times have changed. So we know when we are or aren't getting a check for that day from one of the commercials. So we seen that we were going to get a check from him on Saturday. And I'm going to be honest with you, man. I have been in the mindset of trying to out earn my problems, if that makes sense. I heard that one on the podcast earlier this month, and that's all I've been working towards. By the grace of God, I feel like I've been making some headway in that category.
So I'm gonna have to keep it real, man. This is low light real. Every payment matters. Every payment matters. So when I seen that his check was coming in, I'm happy to see that, we have another payment coming in. But when the mail came and I opened the envelope and I looked at the payment, before I even seen the check, I seen a letter talking about a $200 deduction. Now I look at the check and he took $200 off of my June payment. So this is the first time in history of me being in business. I celebrate 10 years in a week of being full time, and I've never had anyone deduct a payment. I've dealt with bigger commercial properties than this. I've had disagreements with property owners on certain things, and never have I been slighted any type of payment or deducted. Usually we talk, we have a conversation. So my frustration is I'm gonna have to be honest with you. I thought I had a better relationship with this property owner than pretty much any of the other ones I deal with. And yet I receive no heads up. There's no conversation, just a quiet little assumption that I didn't do what I've been busting my behind to stay on top of. Pause. This really hit different, man, because it wasn't just about the money. It was about the message that sent. Like the extra effort just doesn't matter. The relationship and communication we've built just doesn't matter. And I'll be honest, it left me just kind of wondering, how do you keep showing up 100% when it feels like your 100% isn't even being seen? So, those who are wondering, what I mentioned earlier were his reasons for the $200 deduction. So, when I read that earlier, on that letterhead that he had typed up, he said he was deducting 200. I'm basically summing it up because I'm not trying to get too personal on it, but he basically said he was deducting the 200 because I agreed to, not only do the mowing, the landscapes, the applications, the bed spray, but he basically said weed control. He's talking about the weed control, I guess, in the beds or the weed control on the grass. I'm not sure what I would have to say is the beds for sure because of how the weeds popped up. So he's assuming. He said that, blowing out the parking lot once a month, and then he mentioned me blowing the ditch line on the busy secondary street because I'm there early in the morning when all like traffic in the area is busy. So like I said, I nearly get hit out there every week trying to blow the ditch line, and I usually can't get the ditch line because there's always cars sitting at that intersection. So those are the three reasons, and he's basically said, not basically, he straight up said there's no evidence of any of it being done. So I sent a long email back because it's like you have surveillance everywhere. You see me every week when you're pulling in. You mean you couldn't pull me to the side and ask me questions on this to where I could have explained all this? I told him when we re-signed the contract at the beginning of the year, I'll do my best on the ditch line, but it's easier said than done pretty much because I'm fighting traffic just to try and blow out a ditch line. And then the weeds, I am out there. I've probably done more bed applications on his property than what I actually, you know, um, than what I actually have in our agreement. Just because I was trying to stay on top of them, make sure they always, stay down and stay to a minimum. And then, like I said, when I seen that they popped up, I went and did it by hand. Made sure that, I pulled those out. Then to say I don't blow the parking lot out when you've been outside, you've been outside one time and seen me blowing the parking lot out. I have a stand on blower. What excuse do I have to not blow out your parking lot? I probably have done that more than once a month. So, once again, I'll have to repeat what I basically just said a little bit ago, man. The no heads up, the no communication, and his assumption that I didn't do the job after I've been busting my butt to do the job is where my frustration is coming from. It's if I was doing a half behind job, I would just basically be like, touche, I get it. I am busting my behind out there. I am working so hard to take care of this job. And not just this job, every job I step foot on. I always give my 110%. I give 1000%. So I'm not really sharing this to vent. No, maybe a little bit. But mostly it's to keep it real for anyone out there in the field going through the same thing. Just so that you know you're not alone. These moments happen. And to be completely honest, man, they sting, they hurt, but they're also part of, the story of building something real. Part of learning where your boundaries are and how, you want to be treated. So if you're anyone in the service, industry, you're any kind of service provider, let this be a reminder. Your time, your effort, your professionalism matters. Don't let anyone make you feel otherwise. And as for me, just like I said, this is ongoing. I once again have never been in this position, so maybe if somebody has been in this position, you can reach out to me. Shoot me a message, send me an email, let me know how you dealt with this situation and how you might deal with this situation. I've always been professional. I sent a long email, basically saying everything that I said. I long professional email, and trust me, I wanted to go off, but I kept it professional, and I was just straight up like, you could have approached me on this before you even just straight up deducted this. I think that's the part that frustrates me the most. I had no warning whatsoever. And you really just deducted $200, you know what I mean? And I can tell you right now that that commercial is ran by a board that he is the president of, but everything is voted on. And talking to tenants and people on the board, they've always complimented me and said they like the service. So I'm just kind of, I guess, taken aback by how this is and if they know that this is something that has happened. Um, it's quite the odd situation. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know how this doesn't just affect our relationship moving forward. Um, if I was in a better position right now, I would tell you right now, I probably would just go ahead and put my notice in and just say doesn't look like it's gonna work out. But I'm a professional, and to be completely honest with you, I do need the job right now. I am thinking, who knows? We'll see what happens at the end of the year if that's the property that I try to pursue going next year. But this really put a bad taste in my mouth. Um, I guess the part I left out is there is a steep slope on this property. I've gotten the 72 on it. But the problem is where one of his tenants parks all their vehicles, all their work vehicles, it's in the parking spaces below the slope. So my concern is if for some odd reason I did slide, my bail area is a bunch of vehicles. So because of that, I don't take the risk a lot of times. I just go ahead and trim all of that. And when I say steep slope, I've slid on this hill multiple times. Almost every week I have an encounter where I lose some footing in a section trying to weed whack this whole entire hill. So I am being above and beyond, giving my 1,000%, you know what I mean? Just working extra hard on this property. And it's really gut wrenching when someone you think you have a relationship with just straight up deducts you on this when they had to have seen from where their window is from their office that is also on the property, had to have seen me both slip, lose footing on this hill, and second of all, almost get hit by cars every week trying to maintain the outside strip by the busy street, and really complain that I don't blow out a ditch line on a busy street. So, like I said, man, this has been the low light reel. This is definitely a low light reel moment, but even in low lights, man, there's growth. There's definitely growth, and I plan to grow from this one. Honestly trying not to let this one let me down, but those who know me know I don't ever take time off. I had finally had a 3 day weekend, real time. It's Memorial Day night, 11 o'clock at night. And when this happened Saturday, it really upset me. I tried to be in great spirits because, it's a day off. I'm hanging with the family. But, I had to test my motorcycle out for a roll to remember um, on Sunday. And I took that ride on my bike. And to be honest with you, that kind of made me feel better. But I can only imagine that a lot of people listening to this are gonna be like, "Oh, they only deducted $200." Well, once again, yes, we're a small business, but I really feel like what hurt me the most is how much I do, and to get deducted 200 because I'm being told that I'm not doing everything, just because there's no evidence that I've done the services, is what I'm being told. But that's all right. In a day, I know I have God on my side, but that's all I got for this week. Well, for today. Again, this is more like a bonus episode, which will release tomorrow morning, real time Tuesday after Memorial Day weekend. So, y'all take it easy. Y'all be blessed. Peace.
Thank you for listening to Lon Dude on Earth. We talk about all kinds of things here. The good stuff, the tough stuff, and everything in between. If you like the show, please give us a 5-star review. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Thanks for tuning in, and have a blessed day.